Hey, welcome to the Bluejay Banter post-game show. We are live at Let It Fly. It is packed in here and was packed all during the Jays game today. Jays somehow, some way, 69-67. Let me introduce you to Trey Alexander. That's what you need to know about that game.
Yep.
Here with Ross Ferrarini. Ross,
you can introduce him to the foul he had, too, to get us to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. He was fading away on a three there. Probably not the best move to lunge out at.
Yeah, probably not the best foul Trey's ever had. Having said that, I'm not trying to be overly critical by any stretch. Trey is, I don't know where we'd be without him, obviously. His mid-range game has got to be the best of any guard in the country. He gets to his spots anywhere 12 to 15 feet. He's about as automatic as they get. And so give him a lot of credit for, after a really, really kind of silly foul, to keep them in the game. He obviously nails a huge one. The win. I don't think we've won at the buzzer. No, that wasn't technically the buzzer, but I don't think we've won like that probably since. Yeah. Was it Marcus's shot against Providence here? Remember that game?
In the Garden?
Saturday? No. The Saturday game.
Oh, Marcus Zagorowski.
Sorry, I should have clarified Marcus's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marcus Foster would have been the other one in the Garden.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had. I said to the guys watching the game with, we were up, I think, 14 at the time with like 6 minutes to go or 5. It was under 6, and I said, we come down here and hit a bucket, that will take their will away, and we didn't. They came down and hit a 3, and now they're right back to 11, and it was the same, what it was at the end of the first half. And then we went into a huge scoring drought again. We had a huge one in the first half and a huge one in the second half that just killed us. Yeah. And we had some bad offensive possessions where you could just tell with 11 seconds we hadn't even gotten into anything yet.
Yeah, I think a little bit. I do agree with you. I think a little bit of that is, Villanova tightened up defensively, and they are pretty good defensively. They do obviously have a lot of very, physical, strong, athletic wings and guards. It was really, I mean, gosh, it's. I don't think I've seen a game with the types of swings that game had in a long, long time, especially one that we've been a part of. I mean, I thought the doors were going to be completely blown off of that thing. 10 minutes into the game, it looked like this thing was going in the wrong direction for Villanova very quickly, especially after, Kyle Neptune said this is our Super Bowl. That's a heck of a, I mean, I think if you're Kyle Neptune, you would have rather lost that game by 30 than what happened.
Yeah. I mean, they lost that game and great comeback by them, but they lost that game in the first 5-6 minutes of the game. I mean, that's when they lost it. They were, and you could say, and I was sitting there thinking, wow, those fans have got to be going, does this team ever miss when they come to Wells Fargo? But those were wide open threes that we were getting. I mean, they weren't like guarded. They were wide open.
And you could see the Villanova bench. I mean, they were incredulous after about the 5th or 6th one because they felt that their guys were just really not matching up well and finding our shooters, especially in transition. So, we got in a rhythm really, really early. And then, give Villanova credit, though. They adjusted, and obviously they tightened things up defensively, demonstrably. I mean, I think, we had 30 points at probably
30 to 8.
At probably like the
first time
at
out.
the 8-minute mark of
second time
out of the first half, and then you only end up scoring 69 points total.
We were because I looked under over total, and we were at 38. The game was at 38, and there was 12 minutes to go. We kind of, the reason that game got tight was that stretch after that when we went scoreless for a ton, and part of that was Baylor got a second foul, so he was out of the game. That hurt.
Yep.
And then. I thought, oh, God, once they closed it, I mean, I was okay being 15 up, but I wasn't okay being 11 up. I mean, they had chances to cut it to single digits. And then I was like, boy, these first 5 minutes. And then we gave up 4. We were only up 7. But then we pushed that back out again. And like I was telling you off the air, we were up 14. I said, man, if we just hit a bucket here, we had the ball, it was under 6 to go. If we hit the bucket here, it's going to be 16 or 17. I think their will is going to be crushed. And no, they got to stop, hit a 3, hit another 3, and all of a sudden, the doors blew wide open.
Boy, does Eric Dixon like playing us.
Oh,
man. He's a really good player. I got to give him a lot of credit. I mean, he shows up to play every time they play us. He's at that size and his strength, ability to shoot the basketball and put the ball on the floor, quite honestly, for him, I mean, he is a very, very good basketball player.
And frankly, I thought we did a pretty good job overall on him.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of, like, I don't think they took advantage when Kalk got switched on to Moore enough. Like, Moore was more than willing to give up the ball there, and I thought, don't give up the ball. And you could see there was a key possession when it was a 9-point game. I think it was 9. I could be wrong, but I thought it was a 9-point game late in the game. And Kyle Neptune just almost jumped out on the floor and goes, no, reverse it back. He's got Kalkbrenner on, and then he hit a 3. I mean, that was huge. It might have been 7, cut it to 4. That's what it was. And, you know, but for the most part, I thought Kalk did a good job out on Moore. Like, Moore was scared to shoot. Kalk, again, I thought great rim presence today, and it really kept them from trying to score anything inside. So then we were able to push that defense out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think things, you know, obviously there were some lulls today that lent themselves to this being a very close game when it shouldn't have been. But
sure.
I think generally speaking, most people would feel pretty darn good about where this team is and how much more comfortable we look than we did maybe even a month and a half ago. You know, I look around the landscape of college basketball and I think, why can't this team make the Final Four? You know,
yeah.
I look around and I say, well, who is really stopping this team from doing that? You know, so you might point to, okay, Houston's pretty darn good.
Sure.
But gosh, there's just a lot of parity, and I just don't look around at the top of the sport right now, and I'm really not that scared of many of these teams.
And I know the coaching staff does not want to play. Multiple coaches told me that Houston would be tough. However, I'll say this about Houston. Great defensively, and you can see they're blowing Kansas out today, but they go through offensive lulls like none other. Like, they go through things like we went today, where if they do that and you make a run, you can get back in the game against them. I think Purdue we would match up very well with.
Yeah.
We're a similar team. I know the coaches, when I had Arizona as the last number 1 seed, they were like, oh, bring that on. We'll take that challenge.
Yeah.
Obviously, we wouldn't be matched probably. Yeah, we won't be matched in a region with UConn, so we wouldn't meet them till the finals. So that leaves basically three regions right now. Tennessee's kind of jumped ahead of Arizona, but still, I'm not. Tennessee, I think we would do a matchup okay with. I don't.
Tennessee is looking really good right now.
Yeah, they're playing really well, no question. I think they're one of the top. I thought all season long, they're one of the top 4 teams in the country because they played such a difficult schedule all the way through. But I mean, so if you just avoid the Houston region, I think we got more than a better chance if we can get to that final regional game and seeds hold of moving on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's gonna be a really fun couple of weeks here. There's no doubt. You know,
no doubt.
I know this is a Creighton-centric show. I feel bad for our old assistant Alan Huss, who lost today in overtime.
Oh my God, that was
Longwood,
crushing when I looked at it.
And they were, you know, I had that game on.
They were up by 8 with
they
4
were
minutes to go.
up all game. They were in control all game, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And so it's these small conference tournaments. If you guys are paying attention, they have. They're really hard to figure out because a lot of those teams, there's just not that much separation between a lot of them. It really just comes down to jump shooting. And, you know, unfortunately, a school like Creighton can afford to lose in the Big East tournament. A school like High Point, who has this banner year, they cannot afford to lose.
Yeah.
So.
And what sucks is the changes in the NIT. I don't know if everybody knows this, but they're just taking more power schools this year. It's almost impossible for those mid-majors to get in. They used to automatically get in if they won their conference tournament.
Yep, the league title.
And they do not. So they're probably CBI or whatever the hell we have.
Who knows?
Now.
I mean, gosh, they have a heck of a record, so maybe they could still squeeze into the NIT. You never know.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Anyway, but Coach Huss had a great season and shorthanded all year, so I think big things are coming there. Yeah, Trey was tale of two things there with the foul and then coming back to hit that big shot. But I knew when he got to the right side, like he likes to go right, when he got to that right side and got in that sweet spot, I'm like, when he put it up, I go, this is going down. I mean, Trey's going to hit this shot more times than not.
Yep.
And in that stretch where we lulled deep in the second half, we had some good looks. Trey had a couple go in and out. Ashworth had one go in and out. I mean, Baylor had a great look and miss that he normally knocks down.
Yep.
So we had some really good looks. There was one Kalk 3 I wish he probably at that point of the game wouldn't have taken, because I think we could have got something better than that. But again, I thought too with Villanova, where we've got to really take advantage of the inside, and I thought when we got it inside today, Kalk usually converted, and we kind of didn't get it in there enough.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. Obviously
it's not easy.
It's not easy, but at the same time, we haven't necessarily been traditional feeds into the post with Kalk near as much this year. It is what it is.
Yeah,
we won.
But we won, and that clinches second place. So we will tip off 6:00 Central on Thursday night. We will play. There's a lot of
possibilities,
a lot of scenarios. Although I think that loss totally clinched 5th for St. John's.
Okay.
So it'll be St. John's and Seton Hall. Wow,
that'll be an awesome game.
That is going to be rocking in there late Thursday afternoon.
Yep,
that's going to be a must see. You got to go. I'm going to that game. That's going to be great.
How about, if St. John's wins that game and
they play UConn.
The first semifinal game is St. John's and UConn, that place is going to be rocking.
Yeah. So Villanova, the only way they would end up in 6th is if the only way they wouldn't end up in 6th, would be if Providence wins tonight. So do we really want to see Villanova again? I would say no.
Yeah, I don't know. They're all hard games.
Yeah, but I would rather play Providence than Villanova.
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So if Villanova loses tonight to UConn.
Providence
loses to UConn tonight. Villanova would be, let me just double check this one more time because these standings are so bunched together. Villanova would then end up being tied with Providence and Xavier. So then we'll go to tiebreaker. If Xavier wins this game against Marquette, then they would be in the mix. So there could be all kinds of scenarios.
Yeah, a lot of different stuff.
But if they lose this game to Marquette, then it would be Providence, Georgetown, 7-10. And I would like that better because I think that would be interesting. That would be great storyline there again.
Yep.
And, gosh, I got to tip my cap to Georgetown today. Everybody's expecting just, St. John's to blow through that game. That was a tight game throughout. Georgetown was right there today.
I watched basically all that game. Yeah, Georgetown. That's what's so interesting about their record. Gosh, they do have some talented guys. That's not a DePaul team.
Yeah,
so
right.
Exactly. It's they fought. They certainly fought with St. John's. It's just it is tough first year for old Coach Cooley.
By the way, I'm drinking a refreshing pink out version of Let It Fly by our friends at Infusion Brewery Company, and got to do that to celebrate what a great season Jay's had.
Yeah, absolutely.
23-8. And to cap it off, getting a 2 seed, I think, in this conference this year, I think that's a hell of an accomplishment.
I could not agree more.
All right, let's wheel over to the chat. And we want to give a shout-out to our title sponsor. That's CareMinders Home Health Care. They've been with us all year, and we really appreciate it. And they're going to be with us through the postgame. I keep saying postgame. Postseason as well, and we'll talk more about that later. But CareMinders, when you're in need of a care for your injured, ill, or senior loved one, reach out to CareMinders Home Health Care. Their agency is comprised of certified caregivers who have many years of experience. You'll receive versatile, flexible, and customized care, and it will give you great peace of mind to know that your loved one's being taken care of. So give them a call, 402-532-1383. Or better yet, first go to caremindersnebraska.com, learn about all their services, and then give them a call at that 402-532-1383, and they will help you out immensely. And thank you, Jim, and everybody over there at CareMinders. Let's roll to the chat. We got Blake first said, glad we won, hate Villanova, hope we won't play them again. Hope we won't play Dixon again, which, could happen. Number 2, Martin, frequent chatter here on our chat. Roller coaster rides are great fun at amusement parks, but not so much for Creighton games. Happy for the win, but so much room for improvement Thursday. Yeah, it just depends on who we play Thursday, right? Yeah. Again, I think we got off that great start like Matt talked about. We were fortunate we had to play that 5-out game against Marquette. Normally, we wouldn't have played that type of game against Marquette, but we were. And he goes, that got so much on film, so much we can improve on. And I thought we did a really good job starting out. We forced them into some tough looks and especially tough twos and ran them off the three. And we were hitting some shots. And like I said, they were wide open looks. It wasn't like you can say, well, geez, you were 8 for 12. You're bound to come back to the means. Yeah, we did big time because then I think at one point in the game we were 13 of 37 or something. I mean, so that means we went 4 of 24 at some point, during that game. And again, I thought some of those looks were really good. Bracketology question from Blake. How does Iowa State losing to Kansas State hurt them? That's a great question. There's so many teams clumped together with those Big 12 teams, Kansas, Iowa State, and Baylor. Kansas getting their doors blown off right now.
In what world? Kansas is not in the running for a 2 seed at this point.
Yeah. I still had them at a 2 this morning just because if you look at their entire resume, they were slightly, in my estimations, and it depends on what you look at, but in my estimation, slightly better than Baylor or Iowa State. It was extremely close. Like, it was basically flip of the coin close. Yeah. Now, I think with this kind of result, you'd have to say, because now they've had McCullers back a little bit, now you'd have to say they're going to dip down. Iowa State lost, though, at Kansas State, a team who's not in the tournament, so then you have to say, okay, how was that? That was just like Kansas on the road. Baylor has a game tonight against Texas Tech.
Yep.
If Baylor takes care of business, I'd have to say they have a shot at that other number 2. The other team that has a shot, oddly enough, that could zip by everybody is Duke. Because suddenly their resume, they'd have 25 wins, number 1. Number 2, their resume with a high Q1A win over North Carolina would kind of push by or at least even with some of those other teams. So they could push into that 2 slot very easily. It sure would have been nice if Arkansas had hung on to that lead today. That would have kind of sealed the deal, and we'd have, no matter what, been a 3 seed. But now I think we're pretty solidly in a seed 3, even if Duke would jump ahead of the Big 12 teams, and you'd have Kansas, Iowa State, and Baylor all in the 3 line. I think we'd be the obvious 4th team there.
Yeah.
Alabama's lost 2 of 3 now. Went to overtime, probably should have lost today. It's not a win today that's going to help them. I mean, beating Arkansas was like 8-20 or something.
They needed to.
So I think we're okay in the 3.
Arkansas. Yep.
If we're the last 3, we are destined for Pittsburgh, which is not all bad. I think. Playing the Thursday.
None of the first round sites are like that appealing to me.
No, but at least Pittsburgh is what I've looked at. A, the flights aren't bad. B, you could technically drive it if you wanted to.
Oof,
13 hours.
That's a tough drive.
13 hours. C, the hotels are fairly reasonable compared to some other sites.
Yeah.
Memphis is less than 10-hour drive, so you could drive Memphis.
That's also kind of 10's getting
to
be a
driver,
lot.
Are you? You don't. You
no,
don't like
I've driven a lot. I've driven Omaha to Chicago, Omaha to Denver, Omaha to Minneapolis.
Chicago.
That's like a 7-8 hour drive.
That's 7. That's cake. Seriously.
You must fancy yourself a big driver, Tim.
God, I've driven from here to Vegas. I've driven here to San Diego before. I've driven here to Seattle. It's I would go to Memphis. I would drive to Memphis when you're cost cutting, as we are here.
Okay.
At Bluejay Banter.
All right.
That would be the way to go. But so we could possibly do Memphis, and that would be a Friday site. So way on the outside, if we got to like the number 1-4, if Alabama pushed us out, then we would probably go Brooklyn. So those are the 3 right now, unless something crazy happens, which I don't envision.
I don't see some of these teams are that much ahead of us. Like I look at Kansas, their 2 big wins: UConn at home and Houston at home. Okay, we have UConn at home. We have Alabama at home. Obviously, Alabama's okay. Obviously, it's not Houston. We have Marquette at home. Like, is our resume really that much worse than Kansas is?
It's just that when they get into conference play,
Obviously, the Big 12 is the best league.
Most of their games are against 30 and 40 teams. Most of our games are against 50 and 60 teams.
I agree.
That's what the difference is. Yeah. Kalk bailed us out late. Ash has to be better about understanding when not to shoot. He also needs to be better about not dribbling into a trap there at the end. The game was over.
Yeah, that was not great.
Like, he needs to get rid of that ball and not dribble into that trap. Mac was furious with him. Some of those second half 3 attempts weren't good. Yeah, he had a couple where they were kind of on the run, but he had a couple also that were wide open. He's got to knock those down. Paul says, in what world can we blow a 24-point lead? Most worlds.
It happens every year. It happens all the time. We blew the
Villanova game in Omaha, and we tried to do it again. Yeah.
Okay.
I somewhat agree with you, but on the other hand, you got to give Villanova credit.
Dude. The team, relax. The team's 23-8 in the 2 seed in the Big East.
And not only that, Villanova's, okay. There are teams that are a tough matchup for us, and Villanova is one. Casey said, I'm so glad we're going back to the Big East tournament this year. So many quality teams and could have some great matchups for the crowd. We just mentioned a couple potentials.
Yeah. There'll be really good crowds there. First year Patino.
No, this is the most important part. Casey says, look me up, Tim. I'll buy you a beer.
All right.
There we go.
There you go.
That's the kind of stuff I want from you people out there, all right? This is good. All right, hit me up on a DM, Casey. You can buy me a beer anytime. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ross. I cut you off.
I had nothing else to add.
Oh, okay. That's sponsored by Care Minders. Our chat. Keep chatting away. We'll answer your questions as we go through. Unsung hero today.
Mason Miller hit a couple of big threes at the beginning of the game that
he did.
Obviously, Fran plays most of the second half, but without those Mason threes at the beginning of the game, we ain't getting to the finish line.
And he hustled and got a couple of scrappy rebounds, or at least close to. I think he had a tie up once, and we'll give it to Mason. I'm with you on that. I would have given it to Fran if he'd hit that second three. That was a big one. He hits that one, and then that was when our run stretched it out from like 7 to 14. We were in the midst of that run. Worst call. I don't know, Ross. Help me out here. I thought that call block was clean that they called goaltending on.
Yeah, that one I guess I hadn't even thought of that one.
But they never showed the replay either, which I was like,
I'm trying to think of one that stands out. I can't really think of any that stand out particularly.
I thought there was some on the pressure there at the end. I thought we were getting there was a lot of physical play there that could have been called a foul, but they're not calling that. Ash, you'd have to watch that again in slow motion. I don't know if he got hit the second time was a clean tie up when he turned, but I don't know if the first time it looked like he got bumped, but he shouldn't have dribbled in there. That was a whole deal right there. I mean, he had plenty of other options to get rid of that basketball. If he keeps it in the center of the court, there's nothing they can do but foul him. And then that's 2 free throws. We're up by 5, games over.
Yep.
He's got to understand that. He cannot get in that situation.
I'm with you there.
Hey, real update on scores. Xavier up by 2 right now over Marquette. Not a huge shocker. I mean, the point spread's only 3.5 for a Xavier team that's not going anywhere, and who's 500 on the season, and a Marquette team that is going somewhere. Have you heard any new news on Kolek? Have they, Big East tournament-wise?
I have not. I don't think any concrete updates have been made. It wouldn't surprise me at all for them to sit him out again in Big East tournament. What's their upside? I think maybe they're thinking what's our upside here?
Here's the deal. We're talking about seeds and everything. I do think, though, that if you hold them out for the Big East tournament, and again, the committee will reach out to Marquette and go, all right, be honest with us here. What's the prognosis? And they may answer that honestly, and they might not, okay? But the committee may say, all right, look, he's been out now 2 weeks, missed some awfully big games. They have not won any of those. If they lose today, they'll say they haven't won any of those games. We'd feel better putting them at a 3 seed because we're not sure. And then that opens up another slot on that 2 line, right? And now you start comparing Marquette's resume to Creighton's after they've lost 3 in a row. And granted, this has been a tough stretch for them. At Creighton, UConn at home, and then at Xavier. That's a tough stretch for anybody to play.
Oh, absolutely.
You may lose those with Kolek, right? So you get to that stretch, and now all of a sudden Creighton maybe has a chance to pass them. And now we'd always slotted, here's where this comes into play. We'd always slotted Marquette into Indy. If they drop down and Creighton can somehow push by them, now Creighton gets the Indy slot. Bingo. Well, it's good for the fans.
Yeah, I mean, Tim, I don't.
The team doesn't care. No, Russ, I'm talking about the fans being able to go. It's much closer. You can drive to Indy. Indy's not that far.
Yeah.
Okay, and plus Indy has more. I love Indy. First of all, I'd love to go back to Indy. Great hotel. And they have tons of downtown hotels.
They do.
So
Yes.
there's a lot of options there. I'm just saying there's way more options than these other sites.
Yeah.
People are talking about Spokane's pretty much out of the rotation now.
Thank God.
Salt Lake is almost out of location, which I wouldn't mind going to Salt Lake. Charlotte's definitely out. Memphis is tedious. Brooklyn, again, we mentioned those two opportunities. The biggest percentage-wise, if you're looking at maybe, okay, where do you think we can go? Pittsburgh 1, Memphis probably 2, and then Brooklyn, a possible outside chance of Indy 3. That's kind of where it sits. There could be an outside chance. If we were number 1 or 2 on the 4 line, then we would take Salt Lake. But that's way out. I mean, that's a long shot at this point. So we're not going to go to Spokane, which is good because that's horrible travel, horrible hotel locations. It's actually more expensive than the other sites.
It'd probably be the most, outside of Brooklyn, maybe.
Yeah. Actually, check Brooklyn was actually, if you're staying
The flights
arena,
are probably not that bad.
and you stay around the arena, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
You can get some decent, and obviously more choices. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we are as far as NCAA. But we want to talk to you a little bit about, and by the way, we're sponsored by, we got to get Equitable Bank in here. They've been a tremendous sponsor for us all season long. Doug and the crew over there at Equitable do such a great job. Check them out today. They're the Bank of Bluejay Banter. Really appreciate everything. They do 2 great locations just north of the TD Ameritrade, Schwab headquarters in the Old Mill, and then also out on Pierce Street in Elkhorn. So check them out today. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. They do answer the phone in the first ring, and they are a tremendous sponsor and supporter of Bluejay Banter. We want to talk to you a little bit about what's coming up here. So Big East Tournament starts off Wednesday with the 3 play-in games. As we don't know yet, we will know by this evening. Obviously, Seton Hall, you can pencil in. They're the 4 seed. They play DePaul tonight, so that game is irrelevant. They're going to be 4 seed. I think Seton Hall's solidly in the NCAA tournament right now after that win the other night, so over Villanova. So they're in. We got to see what happens with this Xavier Marquette game. That could influence the standings, and also later on Providence UConn, which should be a great watch tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
That place will be rocking. And so then we'll find out. By tonight, we'll know the seedings and pairings and so forth. But Creighton is definitely playing the 6 o'clock Central Thursday night game. If you go to New York, we'll be looking out for you. All right? It should be a great time. We're going to do a bunch of stuff with the Let It Fly crew here in New York starting Wednesday and into Thursday, so be looking for that. One of the things we're going to do is go around the city and just talk to Jays fans. It's going to be a lot of fun. Film that, put together a piece. You can see it all right here on this very same YouTube channel. We'll be putting it all on here. We should have a couple postings on Wednesday. We'll definitely have another posting Thursday, and then the post-game show. The post-game show is going to be a little different format because what we're going to do is go down to the locker room. We're going to get interviews with players and coaches. Then we're going to rush back to the hotel, put it all together, do a show, put the interviews in there, and then we'll pop it out. So it won't be technically live, but it will be probably within an hour and a half of the game. So look for that on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at Bluejay Banter. We'll be tweeting it all out. And then we'll have more product throughout the course of our stay in New York. So it's going to be just an absolute blast. I hope to get a beer with my buddy Ross at some point.
Yeah, we'll converse.
We will. Your buddy Joel's we're going to hit each other up.
There should be a good amount of Good amount of Jays fans there.
Yeah. The only thing is like the last time I went, they were staying in that hotel that was across the street from there. Apparently that's gone now. Yep. So now everybody I've talked to, they're just like a shotgun. They're scattered all over the place. Yeah. Like some are staying down at the spot. At the team hotel, which is quite a ways away from the garden.
Financial center.
Yeah. Yep. Which we looked at that and I thought that's just too far logistically when you want to go back and forth to the garden. So we're staying much closer to the garden. Are you staying close to the garden?
Supposed to be staying with a friend. So no, not close to the garden. The garden's in the middle of everything though.
All I know is if, let's say we stay till the championship game, our flight is super early out of Jersey. And apparently Mac, who from Jersey, knows everything. He's like, oh, the trains don't run Sunday morning. So we got to take an Uber at like 2:45. Yeah. I go, we won't be sleeping, Matt. Yeah. We're not going to bed. We're staying up all night.
Hope to get the first Big East tourney title.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But anyway, look out for all that stuff. Again, follow us on Twitter at Bluejay Banter. We'll be tweeting it all out. Let's check up on the chat again. All right, we got... I want to repeat, Casey's going to buy me a beer. I want to repeat that so everybody hears that. Terry says, Indy is still farther than Chicago. Yeah, it's just right down there. It's like 8 hours. I've driven it before. It's not that bad. It's all super fast interstate. You can just cruise, baby. Just a shame there are no regionals closer this year like Casey or Des Moines. That's what happens when we host. Then they like to put them another regional a little ways away. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't get the KC or Des Moines or Milwaukee or any of those. Just bad luck on regions available since we can't play in Omaha. Absolutely.
Yep, that is true.
And people always ask me, well, why does Omaha want to do that? Rob Anderson,
There's like 1,000 reasons.
Yeah, a lot of reasons, obviously, tons of influx for the community. I mean, you got 8 teams worth of fans. And this year, when you're talking about Kansas, Iowa State, potentially Nebraska, South Dakota State, all coming in here, my God, this place is going to be overrun with people.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be crazy.
Couldn't agree more.
A place like Let It Fly is going to love it.
Yep.
And not only that, like Rob was saying, they get some honors from the NCAA and different things when they host and do all the work for them. So it's a big deal. Catch up baseball. Baseball's playing today. They're playing today, and they got a doubleheader tomorrow. It's supposed to be a beautiful day, so get down to TD Ameritrade and check it all out. They are currently up 9-5 in the top of the ninth, so I think they pretty much got it wrapped up. They're playing Portland, who is very good at baseball. Portland's pretty good at baseball.
You've mentioned that many times.
So, you sick of hearing it, Ross?
No, I'm just saying.
That baseball team, they've only lost one game this year. They consistently climb up those rankings. They're now in like the 70s. So they're moving up.
There we go.
So here we go. So go and check out a doubleheader tomorrow. Yeah, you get 2 for 1. They're playing a 9-inning game first and then a 7-inning game. It's supposed to be a beautiful day, so go down there and check it out. And it says, how can a 10-seed Nebraska be sent to Omaha? That feels ridiculous. That is the number one question, Blake, that I answer for people, and here's how. When you go down the seed list, when you get to number 5, they go by the pods. So wherever the 8 pods around the country are, South Carolina, you're closest to Charlotte.
Right.
As long as it follows the NCAA bracketing principles, where you can't meet somebody before the second or third game, depending on how many times you played them, they will go there. So when you come down to Nebraska on the 10 line, if they're the top or even the second, somebody else may be closer to Spokane or Salt Lake or Pittsburgh or Brooklyn, okay? When you come to Nebraska, if Omaha is open on that line and they're the closest team, that's where they go. It's just the luck of the draw. It's sometimes you are better off, like if you want to get a pod closest to your campus, you're way better off being like a 7, 8, 9, 10 than you are a 4. 4, you are taking the scraps left over from the other teams. Like, oh, nobody's gone to Spokane? Guess what? You get to go to Spokane. You know? And it's just how Gonzaga could end up in Spokane. It's the same kind of concept. So it's just the way it is.
It's also not a guarantee that Nebraska gets Omaha by any stretch. I feel like I keep hearing that from people. It's like, well, you know, Nebraska's going to get Omaha. How crazy is that? Nebraska gets Omaha. It's like, what? You guys realize they have a 1 in 8 chance of getting Omaha.
Yeah,
like,
it's probably less than that.
Yeah, maybe, depending on the seed line, like you just said.
It also depends on if a Big Ten team falls in that 7th slot, then they won't go there.
Yeah.
You know, because they can't play in the first game. Then they're automatically booted somewhere else.
Right.
That's happened with the Creighton seeding sometimes. With the regionals, like, oh my God, they could go. No, UConn's out there. They can't go there, and then they have to get moved somewhere else. So it's hard to project. But I'm telling you, with Creighton, it's kind of easy now because they're kind of slotted in that 3. Like, they're probably not going to drop to a 4, and they're certainly probably not going to have enough juice to get to that 2 because we've seen it year after year after year. The committee doesn't put a lot of weight on these conference tournaments. And it's not that they don't put any weight on them. What we as fans think, oh my God, did you see what happened yesterday in the first round of the Big East tournament? Guess what? That game means nothing more than the game back in the middle of November. So it's all a huge pile of games. It's not just what happened yesterday. And that's why I think people misunderstand a little bit. Like, they don't care about them. No, they do, but it's just one game.
Right.
And it takes a lot. If you've got a lot of words on your resume, it takes a lot of games in that conference tournament to overcome that. And that's basically what happens. Creighton did win 9-5, by the way, in baseball. So their great start continues. But anyway, we will be in touch with you next Wednesday. Come to this YouTube channel right here, Bluejay Banter, and see all the product we put out. We'll tweet it out on Twitter at first and let you know what we're having. And then, as I said, after that 6 o'clock game, so I'm guessing the game gets over, we get back, we get the interviews done, we get the show in the wrap. Somewhere about 9:30-ish, somewhere along there, you'll be able to go on this YouTube channel, see our total post-game show, and also get interviews that we tape live in the locker room with players and coaches. So check all that out. We're going to have coverage like that all through the tournament. We've got some great additional sponsors besides Care Miners, Equitable Bank, West Pacific Dental Group. Also, a couple of new sponsors joining us, specifically Rod Jewell and Mass Mutual Central LLC will join us as a big sponsor. So check all that stuff out, and we will be with you, and we'll have it all out on Twitter as the week rolls along. Ross, it's been great doing the show here all year long.
Yeah, we've had some good ones.
We're still going to do some Bluejay Banners here down the road, and we'll use the big board to break down some more plays in the NCAA tournament, obviously, but we won't have a Bluejay Banter the next 2 Mondays for sure. So just put that on your schedule as well. But we'll talk to you again on Thursday after the Jays game in New York. Go Jays.
Go Jays.